Hi everyone, it's Rishi. If you are new here, welcome to my channel, and if you're not, welcome back. My name is Karish Mitchell, and I am a 21-year-old Bahamian YouTuber living with sickle cell disease. So I kind of want to start off this video just by giving a brief history of my life with sickle cell disease and how things have been for me the past couple months, because the start of the year, this year, was a lot of ups and downs. But as you can tell by the title of this video, I am finally experiencing the beginning of a breakthrough and what is expected to be the start of my journey towards a cure. Something that I never dreamed would, be available to me. And so I'm just so grateful to have this opportunity, and I cannot wait to share my experience with you all. So with that being said, let's get into the video. Okay, so firstly, if you do not know what sickle cell anemia is a hereditary blood disorder in which the regular round red blood cells of the blood are shaped like a crescent moon or a banana, and this sickled shape causes the lack of oxygen flow in the blood, which then can lead to various amounts of symptoms. One of the main symptoms being chronic pain, jaundice, infection, and it can lead to a lot of other lifelong complications. So I was diagnosed with sickle cell anemia at only 15 months of age. Both my mom and dad have the sickle cell trait, and so that is how I ended up with the full bloom of the disease. Now, living with sickle cell, I have experienced it all. I have had my gallbladder removed due to having developed gallstones in 2016. I have had numerous blood exchanges, numerous blood transfusions, and I've even experienced what's called an acute chest syndrome, which is one of the most common and serious complications of sickle cell disease. So that is basically when the lungs collapse and it causes an obstruction in your airway and chest area, and it's accompanied by obviously chest and back pain. So this can actually cause you to develop other issues such as air embolism and a lot of other complications or infections. So for sicklers, it's very common to develop an acute chest syndrome if you originally present with chest pain. And so we use what is called an incentive spirometer to open up the lungs and allow air to expand, accompanied by wearing an oxygen mask or a nasal cannula to assist us in breathing, because we can sometimes barely breathe on our own. So having experienced all of this, being admitted in ICU, spending most of my childhood and just most of my life really growing up in and out of the hospital, experiencing emergencies at school, ambulances having to come and rescue me from different locations, it has just been a wild ride. But this year in 2026, I think was the icing on the cake in terms of the traumatic events that I have had to experience living with this disease. Firstly, I just want to say that what I'm about to discuss is something that has never been shared with the world before, and I would just really appreciate that you all would recognize my vulnerability and accept me and my family and my situation, and take it with a grain of salt. And yeah, so I just wanted to say that in January of 2026, this year, which was my birth month, I initially came into the hospital for a regular pain crisis, accompanied by stomach pain. And the stomach pain was not just stomach pain. I had nausea, vomiting, diarrhea. It was crazy. So when I came to the ED, they did an ultrasound and they were not able really to see what was going on. So it was recommended that I get a CT scan. And the CT results showed that there was some swelling in my pancreas. So I had to be admitted into the hospital even though I began feeling better, and they began treating me for pancreatitis. Now, along the course of my admission, I was treated for regular pain crisis with medications such as morphine and oxycodone just to control my pain and, help with the pain management. However, before I was released, they decided to do an MRI just to make sure that everything was okay. And long story short, all was not well. Keep in mind, this was a couple days before my birthday, actually a week before my birthday. And so when we got the news, I'm just going to discuss what was found at the time. The MRI showed that not only did I have severe pancreatitis, but I had enlarged lymph nodes in my abdomen, as well as thick walls of the stomach lining. The stomach lining had very thick walls, and I guess you can say that is gastritis, which is basically inflammation of the stomach, when the stomach is swollen, along with a stomach ulcer. So it was just a lot going on that the MRI revealed. And I remember that day my team came in and I knew immediately something was wrong, and they were like, okay, this looks like lymphoma. And when I got the news that there was a possibility of me having cancer, I immediately thought, like, wow, I already have sickle cell disease, one of the most painful chronic illnesses out there. And now I'm being told that I might have cancer. So my parents were on the phone with me when I got the news because they said, we need to talk to your mom. And it just so happened that she was not even at work that day. She was actually on her way home. And it also happened that my dad was home at the time. So I think it was just God kind of aligning my parents to be where they needed to be at the time. And I'm just so grateful that they were there on the phone call. And after everything was discussed with them, arrangements were made for them to come and fly in to be with me, because I had to, get a series of tests and medical procedures done in order to confirm this diagnosis or deny it, or just to see what is going on in general. So I just want to say that the plan was for me to be released so that I can celebrate my birthday early, because I did have birthday plans. So I was eventually released and I celebrated my birthday. I had a really fun time. I had lunch with my two best friends, Kala and Tali. And then later that night, I had dinner with more of my other friends, my Bahamian friends mainly. And my boyfriend was there as well. And we kind of just ate dinner. And at this time, I had only really told like a couple people at the dinner about what was going on. So they were able to cooperate with me and say, hey, that you had to change your plans suddenly, and they were still able to make it. And so I'm very appreciative that they were able to celebrate my birthday with me. And it was just a lot going on. My family, they flew in and they came the next day. And that was when we had to return to the hospital so that I can get these tests and medical procedures done. Yeah, so... So one of the first tests that I had done was just some blood tests, and they required me to do an endoscopy. Now, what this endoscopy is for is just me going under general anesthesia and them going in with a scope that has a camera to see exactly what was going on. And after the first endoscopy, it was found that I actually had a mass in my duodenum. So it was literally printed pictures. It was very much there. And this was just devastating news. I did not even know like how to feel. But nonetheless, my parents, my family was there. They were all there with me, and we prayed, and we just waited for the biopsy results. So the biopsy results did take a while to come back, and when they did, it was found that the results were not diagnostic, which meant that they were unable to say whether this specimen was cancerous or not. That being said, after being discharged, I had to come back to do another endoscopy. And for the second endoscopy, because usually before getting any types of procedures done, whether that be anesthesia, whether that be anything, I would have to get a blood transfusion because my hemoglobin as a sickler is usually low. And in order to go under anesthesia safely, I have to have a hemoglobin of at least 10. My steady state used to be around 6 or 7.5, but recently it's been about 8. So I just would need 2 units of blood. During this time, I received the 2 units of blood, but unfortunately had a hemolytic reaction to this blood. This hemolytic reaction caused me to experience symptoms such as fever, chills, sweating, body pain, generalized body pain just all over. I was in and out of consciousness. I had an anxiety attack. It was just a hot mess. And my family, although they could not be there, my mom was there. She was by my side. And I remember her fighting for me so hard, telling my doctors, like, hey, something is wrong. And at first, it was very difficult to get some support from the team. However, my consultant, when she came in and she assessed the situation, she stopped the blood immediately because the more blood that I got, the worse my condition would get. And so eventually I was able to get everything under control and we were able to move forward with the endoscopy the next day. So the endoscopy was done, everything went fine, and eventually we waited for the results, and those results came back to be negative. So although it took a while, we were just so grateful that it was negative. And amongst this news, the surgeon that did this endoscopy was different from the first surgical team that I had. And they actually found that there was no mass in my stomach at all. I mean, can you just... like, it's a story that you will have to see to believe, because me telling you, you can't believe it, but it's literally a God move. And we believe that it was a miracle because the first endoscopy that was done, the mass was there. It was big and round. It was on documentation, everything. They have images of it. But the second endoscopy, I mean, absolutely nothing was there. And I don't think that there's any other way of explaining it but it being a miracle. So we continue to praise God for that breakthrough, and we just continue to believe in the supernatural, and I do think that that was a supernatural phenomenon. Along with my hemolytic reaction, at the time my right knee began to swell up while in hospital. However, an ultrasound was done and it was figured that no fluid or clots was seen in the knee, and so when I started feeling better, I was sent home. Unfortunately, a week later, I returned back to hospital for persistent swelling of my left knee, along with leg pain and generalized body pain. At this time, the knee was so swollen that they paged the orthopedic team, who consulted my knee and then made the decision to aspirate the knee. Once I did this needle aspiration, which was very traumatic, by the way, and painful, it was found that the fluid in my knee was infectious. And that's when they told me, you have septic arthritis. So you can imagine how I felt after going through this whole cancer debacle and then leaving and coming back for something completely different, And this was a side effect from the blood that I needed in order to get that endoscopy done. So it was just a chain of events that was happening. One thing was happening because of something that I needed to get done. It just felt unfair and it felt like I couldn't catch a break. So due to this findings, they scheduled me for an irrigation and debridement surgery of the left knee. My mom flew in once again to be with me, and within a few days after the first surgery, the knee began to swell again, which meant that I was not responding to the first antibiotic that they had me on. And when they did an ultrasound of the knee, they realized that there was more fluid and blood clots that had accumulated even after the first surgery. Therefore, I had to do a second surgery. I required a second surgery. This time, however, after the second surgery, they placed a drain on the outside of my knee. So in the event that my knee continued to accumulate infectious fluid, that it would be drained out and that it would completely heal. And so this did work. I also had a nerve block inserted to help with the pain. And I ended up staying in hospital for about 21 to 24 days. So essentially 3 weeks in hospital. You know, I had to do 2 I&D washout surgeries on my left knee. And then I also obviously received physical and occupational therapy to help with the bending of my knee because it was just crazy and, you know, I couldn't do much. I actually was discharged with a walker and I had to do outpatient therapy to continue getting that leg to work. And then I eventually moved on to crutches and now I am walking with no aid. I was actually walking with a wheelchair as well. And shout out to my mom, my friend Kaden, and my boyfriend Dante for wheeling me around campus on the days that I really just could not walk. Being a college student and experiencing all of this at the same time has been very overwhelming, but I think that having those people in my life at the time really just made it so much easier for me, and I'm just so eternally grateful to have such a strong and caring support system. After this time, about a week later, I had actually returned to the hospital for consistent vomiting and nausea. I was in the ER and I actually was sent home, but unfortunately had to come back the next day. And it was basically a whole thing of, since I was on medications for 3 weeks, my body was still trying to get used to not being on them. It was kind of relying on them. Not that I'm addicted to the medication, it was just my body was not responding well without having them in my system. So they had to admit me so that I can be slowly weaned off of the medication. And, you know, after this, I had a diet change and everything was fine. And I went home. However, I had to come back for another pain crisis that I had. So at this time, I had a pain crisis in my back and chest. And at this time, I also had dental issues from a previous root canal that I did that was never completely done. So it was believed that the dental pain had actually brought on this crisis. Now, at this time, I wasn't able to receive any dental services in the hospital. However, they were able to mitigate, you know, the pain that I was experiencing from this crisis. And they, at this time, also repeated MRI scans and CT scans just to check up on things based off of the results that we got from the endoscopy and the biopsies that were done in February. And yeah, that was basically it. So that was me being admitted 5 times for the year from January to May, and returning home for the summer for even just a brief moment. You know, as I began to pack up my dorm room, my mom and we were packing up, and I got a text, you know, I got an email. I was not even on my phone. If you watch my previous video, I did a moving day vlog, so my phone was recording and I was not on it. And I remember I had stopped recording and I was just like, let me check my messages. And I saw this notification in my mail, and it was from somebody on the bone marrow transplant team. And I was like, wow, that's so crazy. As a backstory, I had initially was interested in gene therapy and applied. My team applied for me. However, I was denied because of the insurance. And so we just thought that, you know, this gene therapy could not be a possibility for me anymore because they denied me. However, with the amazing consultant that I have, she pushed me and she pushed my team to appeal. And won't you know, that notification I got in the mail that day while I was moving out of my dorm at Barry University read, "Please call me. We are approved for gene therapy." And I remember seeing that notification and just screaming. I mean, I was hysterical. I broke down in tears, and my mom was like, what's going on? What's happening? And I couldn't even get the words out. I just handed her the phone, and she read the message, and she became hysterical as well. And so it was just so overwhelming. And oh my goodness, like that day was the day my life changed, because I could not believe that I actually have the the chance and the opportunity to be cured from something that I've been dealing with my whole life. I don't know life without sickle cell disease, but now I will know life without it, and I will have the chance to live life as a normal human being in a world living free of pain, after suffering with this awful disease for all of my life. And so I was just so grateful to God, and just so grateful to my team and to my insurance that's covering it, because gene therapy is a very expensive procedure. Not everyone with sickle cell is approved for it, and it's not accessible in everywhere in the world, because it was just recently approved by the FDA. So it is roughly about $2.5 to $3 million, and to be covered for it, whether that be majority or completely by insurance, is a blessing. And so I just want to say once again that I am just so overwhelmed with gratitude, and I'm forever thankful for my community, and I'm just so excited to start this journey. This was news that I had only shared with family and a few close friends at the time, but now I'm sharing it with you all because I want to bring you along on this journey with me. It is going to be so exciting, and I just can't wait to see what God has in store for me in these upcoming months. So just to give a brief rundown of the gene therapy process. So the type of gene therapy that I'm going to be getting for my sickle cell anemia is called Lyfgenia. And so the gene therapy process sounds like this. For 10 weeks, which is basically 2.5 months, I have to be completely off of my hydroxyurea, which is my main sickle cell medication. And with that being completely off, I have to come in for blood exchanges once a month. So that would basically be like 3 blood exchanges. So the first week of June, the first week of July, and the first week of August. After all of these blood exchanges are complete, I have to come in, and my stem cells will be collected from my bone marrow in my back, and those stem cells will be taken to the lab. And in the lab, they will actually modify my stem cells. So that's where the gene therapy kind of comes in. And they basically edit my stem cells, and that process alone takes about 6 months. So it is going to be a very long period of just waiting. But providing that all goes well, after the 6 months period, if the cells are completely modified and change from this crescent, moon, banana, sickled shape to a perfectly normal red blood cell, then they will contact me, and I will come in for a 4 to 6 week period where I will be undergoing chemotherapy. And after my chemotherapy, I will be injected with the genetically modified stem cells. And it is the hope that once these cells are injected in my bone marrow, that my bone marrow will produce replicas of those. And over time, it will completely replace all of the sickled red blood cells in my body, to the point where I will only have normal red blood cells. And that is the process. So it is going to take about a long time. We're looking at maybe January or February for it to be completed. But before all of this even begins, I am here, as you can see, in my hospital bed, because I'm starting the process this month. That is correct. Today's date is June 1st, and I just came from my appointment at Alex's place and was admitted here at the Jackson Memorial Hospital with the University of Miami, the Holtz Children's Hospital Division on Unit 6B, which is for hematology and oncology pediatric patients. So I will explain what is going to be happening in the next upcoming weeks, this week and next week. So they do want to transfuse me because I will have to do surgery on Wednesday or Thursday. But before the surgery is done, they just want to get a PET CT scan, which is a cancer body scan. Basically, when you do this scan, if any part of the body lights up, it means that cancer is seen in that part of the body. So they want to do this PET CT scan so that they can get a closer look on my abdominal region, and then the surgeon will use that to guide which direction or how to do the laparotomy, which is basically an exploratory surgery of the abdomen, just to make sure and confirm that there isn't anything going on. So before we actually start the gene therapy process, we want to be completely sure that there is nothing going on and that I am completely fine to start this process. We want to make sure that there is no cancer, that there is no enlarged lymph nodes, that there is no mass, nothing came back. And with the looks of my recent MRIs and recent blood results, everything seems to be in the works so far. So yes, it is going to be a while, and my gene therapy process will be delayed by just a week, but in all God's timing, it will still work out. And we believe in God for miracles. We believe in God for negative test results, and we rebuke cancer in the name of Jesus. And after all goes well, then I will receive my very first blood exchange, which is the starting process and the starting procedure of a very long journey to a cure. With that being said, I now hope that you all have a full understanding of what has happened to me this year, what is going on, and what is to come. I just want to take this time to thank everyone who has supported me on this journey. Thank you all so much. Your prayers, your messages, your phone calls. To the people that I reached out before releasing this information to the world, you mean so much to me. And even if I did not reach out to you, please know that it is just so much going on, and I just wanted it to be something that was announced at the right time, because too early, anything can happen, and I believe that there's a time and a place for everything. So we just wanted to wait to be sure. But now that I am here, it is very much real and it is very much happening. So, why not share the good news with the world and bring you guys along with me on this journey? To my family and friends, thank you guys so much. Your support, love, kindness, prayers has really been the foundation of my strength. To all of the strangers on social media who has followed me from one of my viral videos, whether that be on my TikTok or Instagram platforms, thank you so much. To everybody that has donated to my GoFundMe, whether it be $1, $5, $50, $200. A stranger from my TikTok actually donated $200, and that was just so heartwarming to me, because people can just be so kind. So I want to thank you if you've ever donated, because it does add up. Thank you so much. Your funds are being used for hospital bills, medical bills, medication bills, transportation, because there's so many that goes on behind the scenes that we do need the funds for. And so we just want you to know that it is being used. And I am just so grateful for all of the financial and monetary donations that have been coming in through you guys. So thank you so much. To everybody that has been following me for a long time, and you've seen how I've been living my life with sickle cell disease, and you took the time to message me to say get well soon, or you came and visited me in the hospital. If you've ever visited me or sent me a message or a call and say, hey, I'm thinking about you, get well soon, thank you so much. It means so much to me that people could actually take time out of their busy schedule to come and see me in the hospital, or be with me and just spend time with me in those worst moments of my life. I am genuinely so appreciative of all of you, and you guys have continued to go above and beyond. My friends are so amazing. They bought me gifts and flowers on my birthday, because I did surgery on my birthday this year, and it was just so overwhelming to have such great people in my life, and I could not be more excited and blessed about the type of people that I have in my circle. And this was not an easy journey. I did lose some friendships, and it's okay. Things happen. Life happens. What doesn't kill you makes you stronger. And I just think that God needed to remove certain people, or just, allow certain energies to be out of my life so that I can fully receive what is here for me. Because with all of that being gone and all the toxicity being gone, I am walking into new doors, you know. He always says, I know the plans that I have for you. I remember being so down and depressed for just months on end. And now I'm so happy. I'm finally healing and I'm finding peace and joy with this gene therapy journey that is about to begin. And so I just want to say thank you to all of you once again. Obviously, I want to give my respects to God, who is indeed the head of my life. You know, I believe that none of this would be possible without Him. And I believe that if you do follow me, you know, just to continue to pray for me, because it is going to be a long, long ride. But I just wanted to kind of release this statement as an official, not only background, but breakdown and explanation of what's been going on and what is to come. And so I genuinely hope that you all appreciate me taking the time to do this and just accept my vulnerability as I have accepted your love, your kindness, and your support always. Before I close out this video, I do just want to touch on my GoFundMe one more time. Like I said, the funds are currently being used for so many things that goes into these hospital admissions, whether that be medication bills, transportation bills, you know, because we do have to get a car or take Ubers, for food bills, for my, you know, for my school fee, because my school fee eventually has to be paid off at a certain time in order for the insurance to stay active. And if we lose that, we lose the entire process. So although my parents and everyone is supporting me and, you know, I'm getting all of these funds, it's still a lot and it can be very overwhelming, because at the end of the day, I am a college student. And so we do need the support, we do need the help. And if you are able to donate, if it's just $1, like I said, it all adds up. It'll be so greatly appreciated, and I just would thank you, and I pray that God will multiply your pockets if you do donate to me. The GoFundMe will be linked not only in the description of this video, but it is linked on all of my social media pages in the bio of my Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook accounts. And if you don't follow me, be sure to follow me so that you can keep up. Be sure to just stay tuned, because it is going to be a long, long ride. If you've made it this far to the end of the video, I just want to say thank you so much for watching. I will be uploading content regularly now, because especially with all of this, it's going to be so much content to get out there. And so just make sure you have your post notifications turned on so that you get notified every time I post. Be sure to subscribe if you have not as yet. Be sure to like the video, comment what you want to see next. And yeah, I'm just so excited. Be sure to share with everyone, everyone. I feel like this is a journey that I want as many people included on as possible. The more support, the better the outcome. And I fully believe that, because at the end of the day, it is also a mental battle. And, you know, just receiving the kind messages and comments from you guys, it really does go a long way, and it helps me, because I believe that mental health is very important. And as someone who has had mental health issues in the past, it is something that really does help me when I'm in the hospital, because the hospital can be very isolating. But luckily, I do have my mother here to support me. So I just want to shout her out. But yeah, that is basically all I have to say for this video. So I will see you guys soon. I think my next video will be the start of the process, something along those lines, or just a travel with me vlog, whether that be us coming and going back home, because, you know, we're not going to be here for all that time. We do live in the Bahamas, so we're only coming here to get this done, and then we're going back, and then coming back, and then going back. And like I said, the GoFundMe helps with all of that, with flight accommodations, ticket purchases, everything that goes on behind the scenes to make this possible. But anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. I love you all. Stay safe, stay blessed. God knows best. Bye. Trust in me. I can, you said I can trust in